Booomin Sports, your only destination on Radio Jaguar for all sports. Hosted by Jason Gonzalez, it's time to lock in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Booomin Sports on Radio Jaguar. I'm your host, Jason Gonzalez. And today we have some hot topics to discuss, from the NFL free agency all the way to the opening day of the MLB season. But before we start, we have a special guest making his first appearance on Booomin Sports. Francisco Mendoza, a GSU Media Studies student and a lifelong fanatic. Welcome, Francisco.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's get right into it. But first, we got to get to know Francisco. So let me hear some of your favorite teams, some of your favorite players. Get the audience to know what Francisco is all about.
All right. So I've been a Cubs fan for, I would say, about 10 plus years now. Same thing for the Philadelphia Eagles. Same thing for the Bulls. So yeah, those are my three favorite teams that I mostly follow. Favorite players, I definitely would say Luka Doncic is definitely one of them. If I would have to say a Chicago Bulls player, it would be DeMar DeRozan. Old school, of course, Derrick Rose. And to say for football, Deshaun Jackson.
Oh, Deshaun Jackson. I like that. I like that. I was a big fan of his. And he's in the Eagles, so we'll talk about the Eagles later on. But let's first start with the NFL, where a big trade happened over this last week. Stephon Diggs to the Texans. Who would have thought? The Bills were kind of hectic last season. What do you think about this trade?
I kind of saw it happening, I guess, with the Buffalo Bills making cuts, not even trades, just straight up cuts of Tre'Davious White and Jordan Poyer, captains on the secondary. So that definitely caught me off guard. So yeah, I definitely saw it coming. I just didn't expect it to be that. I would think that they wouldn't have touched the offense, but no, I guess they did. And it's just, what is Josh Allen going to do for the offense next season?
It's crazy. They flipped their whole team upside down. I mean, they traded Stephon Diggs to Houston along with a 6th round pick, a 5th round pick for a 2nd round pick of next year's draft. Like, that's nothing for a star wide receiver for Stephon Diggs. And the
No,
Texans, they got a lot of room for wide receivers now. They have a big wide receiver core right now.
yes, the wide receiver trio that includes Stephon Diggs now, it's insane for CJ Stroud, especially having a running back such as Joe Mixon. The Houston Texans are they're a team to be watched this next season.
It's huge. I mean, they won the division last year. They were 10-7. They're only going to improve from now. I mean, CJ Stroud, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, even Noah Brown's pretty productive. Dalton Schultz, Joe Mixon, Damian Pierce. That's a very, very good offense. And their defense is not far behind from it. And in a division where you have the Texans, the Jaguars, the Colts, the Titans, I think the Texans will be on top. I feel like the Jaguars kind of fell off, in my opinion.
It makes you think that in the last two seasons, it was the Jaguars division, in all honesty. But in the last two seasons, not only the Jaguars losing in playoff games, but you have to be better to beat your competition. And when your competition gets better, well, as I just mentioned, you have to get better. And Doug Peterson and the Jaguars will have to do that to defeat this new Houston Texans team.
Absolutely. I feel like the whole Jaguars is very underwhelming. They started off hot last season, then it went all downhill. And even the Colts are getting up there. I mean, their rookie quarterback got injured last year, but we haven't seen him at full force. So, and the AFC South can be very interesting next season.
Yes, I see it as a interesting season. As always, every season is interesting, especially how this last season ended. I expect next season to be a roller coaster of a season.
Talking about roller coasters, how about them Bears? The Bears, they got the 1st round pick and they added Keenan Allen in a blockbuster trade in exchange for a 4th round pick. I just don't get why Harbaugh was like, hey, Keenan Allen, take a pay cut after he had the best season of his career. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, the way I see it as the Chargers already got rid of Austin Eckler. Mike Williams was already out the door. We just talked about it with the Buffalo Bills. Now the Los Angeles Chargers are doing the same thing. Why teams are just giving up on offenses when the young quarterbacks are performing well is, a whole different story for, an NFL GM. But as we talked about next upcoming season, you just have to have the talent. to build around that offense.
I agree. I agree. I feel like it was kind of disrespectful for Keenan Allen. I mean, he's been there his whole career, and then new head coach here, take a pay cut. No, there's no way. Another thing that the Bears added was a running back that they needed desperately. DeAndre Swift signed a 3-year deal worth 24 million with 15.4 million guaranteed. As an Eagles fan, what is your expectations for Swift on the Bears?
That was a great question, the way you put that into it. Okay, so that being said, just give him the ball. We know what to do. The Bears know what to do. You've seen them play so many seasons. Give him the ball when it's needed. I just, as an Eagles fan, seeing this past season, he wasn't used right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the tush push is one thing. That's a whole different story in itself. But when it's 3rd and 2, that's tricky. But when it's 2nd and 2, something like that, run the ball. Stop passing it. Jalen Hurts should not be running the ball every time. He should be throwing it. This past season, I could have sworn his passing touchdowns and rushing touchdowns were about the same number compared to the previous season where it was so not the same. I just feel that with the Bears having this new running back in their system, it's gonna work. Sad to say, there has been many Bears running backs in the past, but I think this one could be it.
I agree. I agree. Last year was a complete disaster. We thought Khalil Herbert was going to be the guy. He was not the guy. And now DeAndre Swift, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I feel like Swift can give the Bears a better dimension on offense because an offense last year was just throwing and maybe who was it? Their backup running back could get something. There was not much to the Bears offense last year, and that's why they lost a lot of games, a lot of close games towards the beginning of the season. And I feel like this pickup was really good from them. Another thing is they traded Justin Fields. The lingering question over the offseason was if Justin Fields was going to stay with the Bears or would they draft a quarterback with the first round pick. And Justin Fields to the Steelers, I kind of like this move for Justin. I mean, yeah, he's going to be the backup for maybe this season, but you never know with Russell Wilson. You never know. Justin Field can be the starter by halfway through the season. What do you think about this trade?
I feel that Justin had to go to a team to prove his worth. Minnesota definitely needs a quarterback. Seattle has Geno Smith right now because Drew Lock is with the Giants now. So those are just a couple of teams that do need a quarterback. I mean, like you just said, Russell Wilson is on the Steelers, so Justin Fields could have gone to Denver to replace him. It's just that scenario of Pittsburgh having two starter quarterbacks that can run, that can pass. Is just who's going to do better than the other. I'm pretty sure Mike Tomlin's going to keep an eye on that as the season goes along, week by week.
Definitely, definitely. We saw they were struggling towards the end of the season, the Steelers. They were relying on Mason Rudolph for the playoffs. Like, come on. But now you have two quarterbacks who can do it all, who can pass, who can run. I feel like the Steelers are in a really good position. They can be a sneaky pick for winning their division, even in a stacked division like they have with the Ravens and the Bengals. So it's very interesting. And as for the Bears, the draft is coming pretty soon. I mean, they get the first pick and the ninth pick. We pretty much all know that Caleb Williams is coming to the Bears. And I think the Bears have a good chance to maybe get like the second in their division. I don't think they'll get the first. I feel like they have a young core, but I think it's gonna be a really good season for the Bears.
It just makes you think what the Bears will do in this draft. I mean, yes, like you said, the number 1 pick and the number 9 pick right away. The talks have been Caleb Williams, number 1, going to the Bears. Now the talks is what are they gonna do with number 9? Like you said, yes,
Hmm.
it may not be a first place finish, but it is a step in the right direction. Granted, the day Justin Fields got traded, it was probably one of the worst days in Chicago, possibly. But in reality, the Bears front office wants a whole fresh new start.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like the Bears fan base was very split on wanting Justin Fields or Caleb Williams. And by trading Justin Fields, it seems like the Bears are fully committed to Caleb Williams and what he brings to the team, what he brings to the field. I'm excited for the Bears. I keep saying this, but the Bears are looking better than they've looked the last couple of years. And now we're talking about the Eagles, your team. The Eagles did a lot this offseason. They signed CJ Garner Johnson. They signed the biggest running back on the free agent market, Saquon Barkley, to a 3-year, $37.75 million contract. They signed a sneaky linebacker, Devin White, and a former New York Jet, Bryce Huff. So what do you think about the Eagles? Have they done enough to put them in playoff contention, to Super Bowl contention? What are your thoughts on their move?
One question before I keep going. Saquon Barkley was the best free running back on the market.
I think so. Who do you think was there?
I thought it was Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry? Yeah, but last season Saquon did really good compared to Henry.
All right, so going into that, to
And
what
he's
you just
younger.
said.
He's way younger, I want to say, in my opinion. I think Henry's towards the back half of his career, in my opinion. And Saquon gives you that two-dimension running back.
Okay, so to answer your question, I would say it's nice to see what the Eagles GM has done on the defense, bringing back CJ Gardner, uh, but knowing what needs to be done on offense, it's a constant every single year, not just the coaches but the players. And when the Eagles do good, the offensive and defensive coordinator ends up going to a new team. It's been like this ever since the Super Bowl year. It's just new people coming in almost every year. It's not consistent. If the players are not consistent, the coaches are consistent. I've seen it since the Super Bowl. We're already on our second head coach since, and we've already been on our third offensive coordinator and now our third or fourth defensive coordinator. So as I mentioned, it's not consistent. But on the player side, these additions of Saquon and the other ones, I just see that they're just building pieces. Now, I'm not one to look in the near future. I just want them to win the division. Now, will they win the Super Bowl? Let the Eagles answer that question because I just want to watch the Eagles win and win a division.
You're right. You're right. I thought last season they had a really good chance for Super Bowl, but they ended the season with 11-6 regular season record, and then they got blown out by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 32-9. That was very disappointing in my opinion because I had Jalen Hurts, I had AJ Brown doing really good this season. They just disappointed in the playoffs, unfortunately. I just hope they do better.
It was just painful to watch. I mean, after the Eagles beating the Kansas City Chiefs, something just didn't feel right. Yes, the Eagles did beat Buffalo, but you lose to the 49ers, you lose to the Seahawks, you're losing to the Cowboys. Yes, Cowboys are in the division. That can go either way. The Eagles were the first team to start the season 10-1 and not go past 12 or 13 wins. That I mean, I love it when the Eagles make history, but that's not history you want to make. And that's not okay. So as you mentioned, these additions to the team should be better. And as you mentioned, CJ Gardner. Yes, I just feel like it's a welcome home party. I just feel that his time in Detroit was just, a moment to himself. He needed some time away. Now he's back, and let's get this team rolling and see what happens.
Absolutely. And within the draft, they got the 22nd pick. They have a lot of holes still to fill with the loss of Jason Kelsey. So the Eagles still got to answer a lot of questions, but I feel like there was a good start in the offseason, and hopefully they do better, and hopefully your team can reach the Super Bowl.
That's what we're hoping for.
Yes, sir.
Radio Jaguar, Governor State University Student Radio.
Are you a Governor State student? Do you have a passion for using cameras and editing videos? Well, you're in luck. GSU TV, a student-run television program, is in search of new digital content producers. Not only will you get experience as a producer, reporter, and editor, but your work will air every month on KNTV, a local cable channel. For more information, visit www.govst.edu/GSU-TV. This is Booomin Sports on Radio Jaguar. I'm Jason Gonzalez, and we're speaking to Francisco Mendoza about the latest NHL brawl, among other hot topics in sports. Now back to the show. And now let's talk about the NHL. We both not the biggest fan of the NHL. We don't know too much about the NHL, but a huge brawl happened between the New York Rangers and the New Jersey Devils, and that seemed personal, man. I don't know about you. That seemed really personal.
Yes, no, they're both in the East. That's for sure that I know that, but you're not wrong. 2 seconds that the puck dropped. It took not even that's how long it took for gloves to be tossed on the ground, sticks to be thrown. And I don't know about you, I saw that fight over and over and over again because it just didn't seem real. I mean, as a kid, I used to play the NHL games on Xbox, so it just reminded me of that. As a former Xbox NHL player, it was fun to fight, but as you see it as a fan, it's not what you want to see. 8 players got ejected just because of that. It's insane. What are your thoughts?
I just found it nuts, and I like how you mentioned the NHL games because yeah, that was like the only games that players can fight. The NHL is just crazy, and the fact that it happened a 5-on-5 brawl within 2 seconds of the opening puck, like come on, something happened. There must be some major beef that I'm not aware of, and I found it really funny. I kept seeing it all over social media. I'm about to start tuning into the NHL. I know playoffs are just around the corner, and hopefully this doesn't happen too many times because they need their players.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong when you mentioned the 5-on-5 fight. That's basically everyone on the ice, but the goalies. I could only imagine if the goalies fought each other, but in the as I've seen the thing over and over again, no, the goalies were just back chilling, waiting for the thing to be over. So it's not something you want to see, but as a sports fan, you've seen it before in other sports. I compared it to the Minnesota Timberwolves Golden State Warriors game that just happened in November because it didn't take that long for a fight to break out.
Mm-hmm.
So something just that you wouldn't expect in an actual game.
Absolutely. That was a complete madness, and it's gonna be interesting if they ever face again. So now let's get onto the NBA. Your strong suit, the main lead that you follow. And I asked you when we were planning this podcast radio show, what are your top five championship contenders heading into the playoffs? So let's first start from the bottom. What's your number five in this list?
Oh, okay. So I would say for number five, I'm going with a team that has been in the top this whole season, but I don't know. I would say Oklahoma City Thunder at number
Hmm.
five, just because how young they are and how amazing they've been doing. Granted, Oklahoma City has been one of the youngest teams in the last couple years, and now of what they've been establishing as a team, it's a sleeper contender for the finals. I wouldn't be surprised.
I agree. I mean, I don't have them on my list just because they're so young and they don't have that much playoff experience. But I agree. They've been the top of their division, and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and a young core are absolutely killing it. I'm a huge Chet Holmgren fan, so I can see why you have them in their top five. As part of my top five, I put a dark horse in number five. I put the Dallas Mavericks, and they're being led by Luka Doncic. Man nearly averages a triple double, has 33.9 points per game. He leads the NBA. And I'm really excited for them just because Kyrie is finally on the court. He's healthy, no controversies, and I think he will propel them into the long playoff run. You said Luka Doncic is your favorite player. Do you see them going this far into the playoffs?
I do. I just had them higher, I guess.
Okay.
Uh my list is mostly stacked on one side of the NBA, as I've seen not only in on paper in the records, but actually during the games. I wouldn't say I would have the Mavericks lower. I wouldn't say that they'd be at my number five, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. What about number four?
Number four, number four. Okay, let me see number four. Number four, I have the Timberwolves. This season it demonstrated that Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns aren't a bad fit together in Minnesota. But the only thing that's lingering is that if Cat can get healthy in time, he's been out for a couple of months with a severe calf strain. But their offense is nuts. Their defense, they have the number one defensive efficiency in the NBA. Anthony Edwards is having a career season with 26.1 points per game. And I think they're getting built for that playoffs. Defense, you need defense at all times. And Anthony Edwards give you that offense. I feel like their only detriment is that they won't have that second scoring option in the postseason because you have Mike Conley, so there's not much to it besides your bigs. So that's why I put them in four. But what about yours? Oh, how do you think about the Timberwolves?
I thought about the Timberwolves about putting them on the list just because it was between the Thunder and the Timberwolves fighting for the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but just the status of Karl Anthony Towns, I just feel that that's one of the reasons why they've been so successful, just because of having Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. So with that status of Karl Anthony Towns, I just think that if he's not playing, they won't make it far. So I left him out my list.
Absolutely. I agree. Like Cad really spreads the floor because he has that 3-point shot. He's one of the best 3 points centers in the league, power forward, whatever position he is right now. And I can see I only put him here because he's expected to be into the playoffs. So I hope he is in the playoffs because I want to see every team at their top position play ball. So that's why I have number four. What's your number four?
I put the Milwaukee Bucks at number
Mm,
four. I mean, you have the talent. You have Giannis, Lillard, Middleton, Lopez. Yes, the talent is there. It's just the losing streaks is what makes the Bucks just lose so many games. I was looking at the standings this morning and seeing how the Celtics are in first place, and they're the only team not to lose 20 games yet. I just don't see the Milwaukee Bucks making it that far, but they will be making it farther than the other teams that I did not choose. So I have Milwaukee at number 4.
Yeah, I don't have Milwaukee surprisingly in my list just because I just don't trust Doc Rivers. That's one of the things. As a Sixers fan, I know how bad he can choke in the playoffs. But they have a great offense. They have Damian Lillard, Giannis. They started off slow this season, but I'm rooting for Giannis. I'm a huge Giannis fan, but I don't have him on my list just because I feel like Doc Rivers can be a liability, and yeah, it can go either way for them in my opinion. So now for my we're number 3 right now? Yeah. Okay, number 3. I have the Los Angeles Clippers. Before you clown me for having the Clippers, because the Clippers are historically losers in the playoffs, historically. I just think that we haven't seen Paul George and Kawhi Leonard this healthy. Currently, Kawhi has a knee injury, but I think they're having a great season. Yes, they have a lot of ball handlers. They have Paul George, Kawhi, Westbrook, James Harden, but I think they can get it done. I mean, we haven't seen this much potential in a team in a long time. They have shooters. They have a really deep bench. I think they have a really good chance. I mean, Kawhi's averaging 23.7 points. He's been very productive in 68 games. That's the most he's played in a long time, and he's still going to play more. So I'm excited for the Clippers. Well, what do you think about the Clippers? Are they a bust, or are they going to prove the haters wrong?
I would say that the Clippers are a team that will be making the playoffs, of course. The reason why I didn't put them on the list is what you just said, the status of Kawhi and Paul George. It's shown that they have gotten injured, sadly, but you have the additions of Russell Westbrook and James Harden. So having all 4 of those players, including your bench, healthy, yes, it should be success in the long run. But once those players go down, it's the next man up. And I just feel that having their health in question, Clippers may not make it that far in. One of the reasons why I left them off my list.
I can see that. I can see that. Yeah. I've always been like a huge low-key Clippers fan because they had some really nice rosters. I remember a couple years ago they had the 2 6-man. They had Montrez and Lou Will. But I feel like the Clippers always fall off for some reason. I really hope they do well this season. I know next season they're gonna whole new rebrand, but I hope they end this era of the Clippers very well. So what's your third team?
For number 3, I would say the Dallas Mavericks, just because of what has become of them since I've been watching Luka since his sophomore year. His rookie year was just amazing. So I had to catch it. I really did. So what he had done in the NBA bubble did not surprise me at all. Just a little history lesson. So going to this season, him and Luka and Kyrie dropping 30 points each, and any night it'd be nice averaging that, of course, teammates. But seeing how those two have been going along with the Mavericks really haven't given Luka a strong roster. I mean, you've seen Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber there for a while. But I just feel that Luka has done everything that he can to make this team win, and Luka in the playoffs is nice. I mean, what year was it when Luka played the Suns so close to going to the finals? So I just feel that Luka can get there, but there are some tough teams in the West, but got to beat the best to be the best. So yeah, there's that.
I agree. I'm a huge Luka fan. I think he's proven that he shows up in the playoffs. And now you have a playoff experienced Kyrie Irving healthy. I think they're going to do wonders. And their additions of Gafford and PJ Washington made a huge difference. They're spreading the floor, pick and rolls. They're playing very well. Everything's firing in all cylinders. And I'm not surprised why you have them in the top 3 spot.
Radio Jaguar, the pride of Governor State.
New services are available at the Counseling and Wellness Center. The CWC is thrilled to announce the launch of new, free, and confidential services, which are available now to students. Have something on your mind? Take a quick anonymous screening through our online survey to check in on your mental health. Need support in the moment? Call the new 24/7 support line. This new service allows students to get help from our professional counselors anytime, anywhere. Call us at 708-235-7334. That's 708-235-7334. We would also like to announce our partnership with Togetherall. Gatherall is an anonymous platform to connect with and support others who share similar experiences. For more information, visit govst.edu. Again, that's govst.edu.
This is Booomin Sports on Radio Jaguar. I'm Jason Gonzalez, and we're speaking with Francisco Mendoza about our top 5 championship contenders heading into the NBA playoffs. Now back to the show. Let's see. Now for my number 2 spot, I have the Boston Celtics. Yes, they have the best record. There's some hesitant plays that I've seen. They lead the league in offensive rating. They have Derek White's having career season. They have the best home record, but I just feel like it's the same old Celtics. We saw when they faced the Hawks, they blew a 30-point lead in a night where there was no Trae Young, no Jalen Johnson, and they just blew a 30-point lead. I feel like that's one of the things that I don't have them at number 1, just because there's that history of them falling apart in the playoffs. But they're doing really well, 60-16. Like, that's ridiculous.
It's nice to see what the Celtics have become since Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have been drafted. Just the definition of super team, just put the Celtics and the Phoenix Suns in the dictionary at this point. But just seeing what has become of that starting lineup is amazing. As you said, Derek White's having a career year. He recently won Player of the Week. You just don't know what you're gonna see from them, and that's another thing about health with that team as well. But you did mention about maintaining the lead. Yes, that was one thing that you did not expect, blowing a 30-point lead, but the Celtics have done it in the past. I mean, they've blown leads like that to the Bulls. I mean, it's not something that you expect. Having the Celtics at number 2 on this list makes sense because you gotta clean everything up in the playoffs. Everything's fresh. The only reason that you win all those games in the regular season is for the playoff seeding, but everything is brand new in the playoffs. So
Absolutely, yeah. As soon as playoff hits, nothing matters. It's about the games in front of you, not behind you. So yeah, the Celtics. Hopefully they get it done. What's your number 2?
I also put the Celtics at number 2,
Okay.
just because of that. I mean, I gave my whole explanation on why it was a good reason to put them at number 2. So as I mentioned, the team, what they've done, the players of Porzingis, Derek White, all of them. I just feel that they're gonna go all the way. Just Porzingis this season and Derek White last season, even without those guys, they made it to the finals, lost to the Warriors, but still they've progressed each year where they've either come close to it, either they've lost in the Eastern Conference Finals or they lost the finals. So eventually Jason Tatum will have his ring, just not this season.
So do we have the same number 1? Is it the Nuggets?
I mean, how do you not? How do you not?
Absolutely. I mean, they have the reigning they're the reigning champions. I feel like a dynasty is born with Jokic on the top. I mean, 24-8 when the Nuggets starting lineup is fully healthy and just need Jamal Murray to get healthy, and I think they repeat. They have such a great roster. Michael Porter Jr. is having a best season of his career. I think they're firing all cylinders, and I think they are going to be champions this season.
There's the speculation of, repeating. I didn't mention that Jokic and Murray are favorite players of mine, if I didn't mention that in the beginning. So I didn't think of having the Nuggets at number 1 would have made sense just because of what I've seen since 2019. When the Nuggets lost to the Trailblazers, when the Trailblazers had Lillard and McCollum, it just didn't make any sense. I just knew that it's their time. And when Jokic made his first All-Star appearance, just being on NBA TikTok, it was so horrible. People saying that, oh, Jokic doesn't deserve to be the All-Star, oh, this and that. In reality, he did. His first All-Star, I believe, was Chicago. So it was just proven to success. That man's a walking triple-double. That is insane.
Absolutely. I feel like they don't give the credit because they're not the biggest names. They don't have that background around them like Jason Tatum, LeBron James, and like other major stars in the NBA. I feel like the Denver Nuggets will always be slept on just because they're in Denver. They're not a huge market team, but they have the talent, and I feel like this playoff run will be reigned by the Denver Nuggets, and I feel like they have the best shot. Might have to place a bet, not gonna lie. If we both agree, we might have to do it.
There's teams that built their way up, and there's teams that have made significant trades. I mean, as you've seen, 3 of their 5 Nugget starters were drafted by the team.
Mhm.
Jokic being a second round pick, of course. But just seeing what they've done in the past and what they're still doing, it's amazing. As I've mentioned, I do you want teams to win. You just don't want to predict a championship because if that doesn't work, you don't want to be wrong, you know.
Absolutely. 53 and 23. They're doing pretty good for the Nuggets. So now let's talk about LeBron James. He reached the 40,000 point mark. He continues to break these records, but is he your GOAT, Francisco? Because as a Bulls fan, I know there's one certain man who wears 23.
Yes, that is a very nice question. Is he my GOAT? I would say no, just because I would not really have watched LeBron, just because in his time in Cleveland, his first go around, growing up, I wasn't really watching basketball, but
Mhm.
by the time that I was watching basketball, he made his decision to go to Miami. So as a young basketball viewer, Cleveland LeBron really wasn't a thing besides on paper and on video. So I just knew him from Miami, and seeing LeBron in Miami just beat the Bulls every year, it just didn't
Yeah.
resonate well with me, and it just made me not appreciate his game, I guess. Which I still to this day, I still think about, but just to see him score that many points every year, just getting older and older, yeah, he's one of the greatest to play in the 2010s, of course, and the 2020s.
Yeah. He has a lot of accolades. I mean, he's four-time MVP, four Finals MVP, four NBA titles, 20 All-Star appearances, and 19 All-NBA nods. But like, I agree. I think Michael's better. LeBron, I've seen LeBron a lot of his career, and he kills it. He's a great basketball player. I'm surprised he's still doing it 21 seasons into his career. He will continue to break records, but I still have Michael at number one. And how about his son? I mean, his son's now entering the NBA draft with the potential of even maybe coming back to college. I found that very strange. That news broke today and I was really confused. 25 games, 4.8 points he's averaging, 22.8 rebounds, 2.1 assists, and he's shooting 36.6 from the field goal. I have a lot of questions and I'm surprised he's going into the NBA if a team wants him.
He chose a college that was home. He chose
Mhm.
USC because, LeBron's still in LA. Totally makes 100% sense. But when you look at a school like USC, you work your way up, I guess. And when you see Bronny playing in time where it's not a close game, especially that game against Stanford, that's not what you want to see, not only from LeBron's son, but
Mhm.
an NBA prospect, and there's no shade to that. There's no shade to Bronny. It's just a team he chose and where he wants to play and where he's gonna shine. And I'm just saying that that transfer portal makes 100% sense. But if a team does want him, he goes straight to the league.
Absolutely. There's no shade for LeBron because he had that heart issue. He only played 25 games, averaged 19.4 minutes. His career at USC was not the best. And I agree. I feel like his best option is going back to college, developing that skills and reaching for the moon. I mean, if he goes into the NFL NBA draft, I mean, he's not going to be a top pick. He's going to be a second round pick. No one's going to want to roll the dice for him that high. And I'm surprised. I hope he stays in college and hope he does very well over there. And now we're talking about the Chicago Bulls, the team that LeBron James has tormented over and over and over and over, like we discussed before. They currently stand 36 and 40, the 9th seed, in slot for a play-in game. And there's only been a few bright sides for this NBA season for the Bulls. DeMar DeRozan always showing up, and the resurgence of our guards, Kobe White and Ayo. They surprised me a lot. I mean, Kobe White, he started the season really, really hot. He was shooting everything, he was making everything, and now he's kind of cooling down, but Ayo's picking right up where he was. Where do you think the Bulls make the play-in game? Do you think there is a chance to maybe win a game or two in the playoffs?
The Bulls are in a position where the eighth seed is possible. It's a lot of math to go into that,
Mm-hmm.
but to summarize it all up, it's Atlanta at the 10 game and have to take it one game at a time. This just happened last season. Bulls fans remember, you beat Toronto at their home, but then you lose to Miami when you beat Miami in the regular season. And as you mentioned before, regular season and postseason is different, of course, but it should have shown that the Bulls should have beat Miami. But look what Miami did going all the way to the finals. It just shows what the Bulls should be doing to make it all the way.
Yeah, yeah. It gets this. There's disappointing games in between really good games. It's very weird with the Chicago Bulls. And heading into the off season, they have a lot of questions. Zach LaVine underwent a season-ending injury. They required him to be out 4 to 6 months. And you have Lonzo Ball, which hopefully, God willing, he comes back. Apparently, he's really close to it. LeVar Ball, he said in no time, he's going to be doing 5-on-5 basketball drills. And there's a lot of key players that can be moved this offseason. You got DeMar, who is now his deal is done. Like his final this is his final year in his contract, but both teams want to get it done. Zach LaVine is under contract until 2025, but the player option 2026. Alex Caruso is under contract for one more season. Which players would you move? Which players do you want the Bulls to stay with in order for them to be successful?
It's been an interesting last few years, especially with Lonzo and DeMar joining the Bulls. I was very happy when DeMar joined the Bulls, especially what was shown in year one. Not only the back-to-back buzzer beaters against the Pacers and the Wizards, but also seeing, as I mentioned, with Jokic, you see a walking bucket right in front of you. His first year, DeMar literally could have averaged 30 points a night his first year. I was joking around when DeMar was playing in the Drew League that he was wasting all those points over there. And I was right because it was not showing the same from year one to year two. Now that the Bulls are in year three of DeMar, yes, now he has more to do with LaVine being out for the rest of the season. So yes, I would want DeMar to stay on the team because it's shown that there is no good return in a trade package for DeMar DeRozan. So hopefully the Bulls would have DeMar finish the season in the Bulls uniform, of course. Andre Drummond is another name that the Bulls need to keep. I mean, yes, every team would want Andre Drummond. Even as a starter, the Bulls haven't really had much success in free agency and in drafting a backup center for Vucevic, but having Pat Williams as your power forward, it shows why Drummond is on the bench. But without Pat Williams, of course, this gives Drummond time to start. Another name they need to keep, Caruso. I mean, there's no explanation to that. The city of Chicago loves Caruso. But it's just the other players on the bench. I mean, you keep your stars, the ones I just mentioned. You keep Kobe, you keep Io. But the names I didn't mention, those are the ones that are on the hot seat, in my opinion, for me at least. But the if the Bulls front office likes what they see, I mean, who's to say? I'm a fan. They're running the team.
Radio Jaguar, the hottest radio station in the city.
Hey Lila, are you ready to go back to school shopping?
Actually, I already bought all my supplies.
Oh, really?
I sure did.
Pencils?
Check.
New backpack?
Obviously.
Textbooks?
Regular and ebooks.
All right, but I know you don't have any school spirit.
2 t-shirts, a hoodie, matching sweatpants, 3 polos, a water bottle, and a hat.
Wow, you really do have everything. And for a good price, too. Where did you go?
The GSU bookstore, of course. It has everything a student needs for class, personal use, and on-the-go necessities. The GSU bookstore also offers price matches with Amazon and Barnes & Noble, online or in-store purchasing, study aids, software products, and the best part, they accept all forms of payment, including your GSU My One card.
That's amazing. Now, if only I could buy a degree there.
This is Booomin Sports on Radio Jaguar. I'm Jason Gonzalez, and we are speaking with Francisco Mendoza about the Chicago Bulls heading into the off-season. Now back to the show. I agree. I would love DeMar to come back. Alex Caruso, fan favorite. He does it all. He's really good on defense. He shows up sometimes on offense. He does a lot of things for the Bulls. He does the dirty work for the Bulls. Zach LaVine, that's where I'm in between right now, because they're gonna pay him a lot, and he seemed like he didn't want to be here towards the free agency window. I'm very, very in between Zach LaVine right now. Keeping him, trading him. The Bulls need him, obviously, but he seems like he doesn't want to be here.
With the status of Zach LaVine, there's 2 different ways that can go. I mean, granted, you want to see what you can get in return for Zach LaVine, and if it's not there, of course, the front office won't accept it. But if you let him walk, you're literally letting the money walk too, because with a contract like that, you really do want something in return, even if it's 3 first-round draft picks. I mean, granted, that's a little overdoing it, but something has to come in return. You can't just let something like that walk away.
Yeah, because I remember hearing like the Kings wanted him at one point. I feel like you got to make moves as the Bulls. You got to make moves because you're fighting for an 8th seed. You're fighting even to get into the playoffs. That should not be the standard for the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls should be one of the top teams, and they need moves to be one of the top teams. I'm not saying that will happen overnight, but something needs to be done over the offseason. Not be content, actually make moves in free agency, and I really hope the Bulls get their team together.
It's not fun to see the Bulls having a sub 500 record. And since the Lonzo Ball injury, it has been a sub 500 record.
Very unfortunate injury, that's for sure. So now let's move on to the MLB opening week of baseball. Baseball is finally here. Chicago's teams are fighting for wins. Mostly the White Sox. They currently stand 1-5 with a record after they lost against the Kansas City Royals. And a big injury that happened after they picked up their first win was that Eloy Jimenez got injured. Another abductor issue. And this is something that keeps happening to Eloy. His rookie year, 122 games he played, 55 games the next year, and he's never gone to that 100 game mark. So that's very not surprising, but something that keeps happening to the White Sox and Eloy Jimenez. And I have no hopes for the White Sox. As a White Sox fan, this season is going to be very, very bad for us, and I'm not looking forward to it at all. Still love the White Sox though. Still love it. One day it'll be good. As for the Cubs, they stand 4-2 after defeating the Colorado Rockies 9-8 a couple days ago. And Christopher Morel is having a great start to the season. 9 hits, 2 home runs, and 8 RBIs. Even causing a little league home run. For all you people who don't know, that's an inside the park home run. And the Cubs are firing all cylinders. They're doing really good. I'm surprised. I saw they're favorite to win the division. What do you think about the Cubs? Do you see them winning the division? Do you see them fighting in the playoffs?
It's the way the season has started. It can go any other way. I mean, right now the Cubs are in 3rd place, right behind the Pirates and the Brewers. And there's so many ways you can put this in scenario. But of course, the season just started. 162 games. Of course, it's the only sport where you play that many games. But I just feel like it's a little too early to tell. I would, of course, as a Cubs fan, I would love for them to win the division and go all the way. I mean, what Cubs fan wouldn't? Especially after what happened last season. I mean, you missed the playoffs, but it's the losing streaks. They started off bad, and it's the injuries. I mean, once Cody Bellinger got injured, you could tell that one man made the offense, and that's not how it should be, I guess. I mean, you should build a lineup where everyone can hit, especially with a team like the Cubs. The roster is there. The roster is there. There wasn't that many additions that needed to be made. It's just that the players we have, that the players that the Cubs have, is there. It really is there. Dansby hit a home run. Seiya Suzuki hit a home run. Cody hit a home run. Like as you mentioned, Morel hit a little league home run and a regular home run. So the talent is there. Now it's time for Craig Counsell to realize where everyone fits best. Opening day lineup, I understand it's your first game as a manager for the Cubs. It was an atrocious lineup. I didn't like it at all. The Cubs lost. It was not okay. But since the Cubs have been home, it's been nice. It's been good. The Cubs host the Dodgers. What that's going to entail, I don't have the answer for. The players do, as the final score will show. But even in that Rangers series, this team proves that they're fighting to win. Some teams play just to play, but when the Cubs played this Rangers series, I could tell they tried their best to win it. And what the record shows right now, we'll see what happens in the end, but I really do want them to do well because of what happened last year and what they're capable of.
I agree. That first game was very devastating because they're winning. Maybe it wasn't there wasn't like the biggest margin. They started off the season really good. I mean, that first game they could have beat the Rangers. Yeah, that lineup was not good at all. I just hope at least one Chicago team makes the playoffs. I'm not a hater of the Cubs, so I hope they make playoffs. And a quick shout out to the Detroit Tigers. Shout out Professor Rosé. She's from Detroit, and they're not undefeated anymore, but they beat the White Sox.
This is Radio Jaguar.
So now we're going towards the end of our show, and I want to start a new segment with my guests, and I want to share our players of the week because there's so many sports out there, football, basketball, whatever. And we want to highlight that key player that making a difference on their team. And I want to give my guest their first try. So who is your player of the week?
One I had to think about, but since baseball season has started, one hot bat has been Christopher Morel. Since spring training, manager Craig Counsell has said, I want this guy in our lineup. I want this guy in opening day roster. He's going to hit and he's going to do good. Coach has been right, and I really want the Cubs to do good. So with that being said, my pick is Christopher Morel.
Nice. Yeah, the Cubs are firing all cylinders. For mine, it's Caitlin Clark. I mean, she's killing it. 41 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists, and a defeat of the LSU Tigers in the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament. Her performance is just crazy. She does it all. She shoots the three very well. She defeated the LSU Tigers, a matchup that at one point had her number in the past. And I think she's going to be a great star, whether she chooses the big three of Ice Cube, like people are speculating she might, or goes to the WNBA. She has been that it factor for Iowa, and we might see a championship at the end of the season. So Caitlin Clark, my player of the week. So now it's time to wrap it up. Thank you, Francisco, for being my guest this week. And thank you all for listening to Booomin Sports on Radio Jaguar. Make sure to tune in next month where we'll be covering more hot topics from a variety of sports. Until next time.
Thank you for listening, and remember, business is always booming, so make sure to tune in to the next episode of Booomin Sports on Radio Jaguar.